Hello and welcome to Wolfman Gaming. This is my Callisto Protocol Final Transmission DLC walkthrough, and this is episode 3, which I have named Keep Fighting. And Keep Fighting is the name of a trophy that we will be unlocking very soon into this episode, as soon as we get down to the floor beneath this walkway. Because at this point I want you to brace yourself, because we are actually going into one of the most frustrating fights in this entire DLC. And I don't want to deter anyone, but this is one of the reasons why I recommend you play this DLC on medium security difficulty or normal difficulty. Because we are going into combat with a Biobot. As soon as we press this button, the door on the right will open and in comes a Biobot. I recommend that you, for as long as you possibly can, try to use your shotgun at this guy. You want to try to keep distance. Because the thing with Biobots, I think I have mentioned this in a previous episode. Sometimes when they do their swing combos, they will do a swing that cannot be blocked. I will swear that that is a fact. Because I have done a substantial testing, I have looked at other videos online, and sometimes Jacob just doesn't dodge their swing. I don't know why this is. I think it is a stupid mechanic, especially when this entire game's combat mechanic consists of you being able, like you saw there, that swing, I took a hit. And I will swear that I was holding the analog stick to the side. So that is something you need to be aware of. And these guys, even on normal, they hit like a truck. So be careful, be prepared to not take down this guy on your first attempt. I didn't manage to do it, but if you try to keep your distance and use the shotgun, let the shotgun work for you. Try to aim for the head, because you'll have a bigger chance of getting critical hits that will stagger the robot and make him move back, so you can create more distance. And something I didn't mention in that fight, but a good thing to know, when he does that wind up, you saw that he starts gathering electricity, his middle part starts glowing. He does an AoE blast like you saw. When he does that in that fight, back off. There is nothing you can do to interrupt it. Not yet, at least. We will be getting a new weapon in the next episode, so then we will be able to interrupt those attacks. But at this point, you don't have that option, and actually that is the only Biobot you will have to fight with your stun baton. Thankfully. Because that fight I'm not a fan. But as soon as that bot goes down, you will unlock the trophy called Keep Fighting. And when this elevator stops there mid tumble or mid fall, make sure to crouch down into the right corner, because in that corridor there are two spitters, but if you crouch down in the corner, they will not be able to hit you. And after a few seconds, you saw the elevator keeps falling downwards, so you will be safe from them. And something I want to talk a little bit about as we're going through this DLC. There's been more information about the new DualSense portal. I talked about that in the main game, and for anyone who doesn't know what a DualSense portal is, or will be, because it has not yet been released, it looks as if you have taken a DualSense controller, cut it in half, put in an LED screen or LCD screen, don't know which one, and glued the two halves of the controller to the sides of the screen. It is basically a fancy Wii U controller. Or it looks like so. And In my walkthrough for the main game, I said about the controller that it connects to your PlayStation 5 via Wi-Fi. By the way, be careful going into this room. There is one enemy on the left side and one on the right side. I like to just pick up the one on the left, throw him into the fan blades, like so, and then take the guy on the right. But the DualSense portal, as I said, it's supposed to connect to your PlayStation 5 via Wi-Fi, and you will be able to play your games, like stream the games to the controller. And in my walkthrough for the main game, I said that it will only be able to connect if you're on the same Wi-Fi network as your console. That has turned out to be false. Apparently it's supposed to work as long as your portal is connected to a Wi-Fi. So if all goes well, if you're on vacation, you're like staying in a hotel, you're supposed to like connect to the hotel's Wi-Fi with your portal and stream games from your PlayStation 5 that you've hopefully left at home. And if that works, I could see that there is a point to it. I will not be buying one. I can say that straight off the bat, because as it stands, wait, hold that thought. This is important, because now we're going into a gauntlet. So we'll leave the portal for a second. As soon as we go down this staircase, a bunch of enemies will start spawning in. So run down, pick up the grip battery pack and move back onto this platform, because I think this is the best place to be in this entire room. Because all the enemies that can attack you will either come up that staircase or through a vent in that wall that I'm facing. So we will turn this staircase into a choke point. This is our bottleneck where we will make our stand. A few spitters spawn in, of course, and as you saw, like that one throwing a loogie at us, most of the time, if they're trying to spit at you from far away, their spit will hit the ceiling and you will be safe. If they decide to come in, sorry, the hatch is not in the wall, it's actually in the floor. Either way, if they come in through the hatch, yes, you are in danger. But just pick them up, either throw them into the wall. Since we're standing over here, you will... I've talked about that the grip works better if they have time to like gain momentum when you throw them. And also, since if you have uploaded your grip glove to the max, as I have, you may have seen with an enemy, I picked them up and I threw him into that vent right over at the other end, because that is the amazing power of the grip glove. But before you know it, all the enemies are dead and we can go on our merry way, and I can continue talking about the DualSense portal. As I said, I will probably not be buying it because I prefer to play my PlayStation at home, and it costs $200, which I think is quite pricey. But if it can do what it claims to be able to do, I'm very curious about I will be looking forward to seeing the reviews of that machine. But also, on the subject, if I were to put money towards a new controller, I would love to buy the DualSense Edge. By the way, here is an incoming jump scare. You will be attacked from behind by a crawler. And as I said, yes, I would love to buy a DualSense Edge, the Pro controller for the PlayStation 5, because I have, for my Xbox One, I have an Xbox Elite controller, Series 1. I have a Razer Raiju that I use for my PS4. That is one of the things I miss most about playing on my PS4, having the Razer controller. But I think... Here comes the jump scare, by the way. Scripted attack. As far as I know, you cannot avoid this, but immediately press triangle, give him a quick whack, and he will flee. Like so. Because in Sweden, we have quite expensive taxes for plastics and chemicals and stuff like that. So a DualSense Edge controller costs around 200 bucks. In Sweden it costs around 260, 270. Which is absurd money. If you were to add like 30 bucks to that, you would be able to buy a Nintendo Switch. That is console buying money. By the way, going into this room, immediately grab that enemy and run into this corner. Because then we can wedge ourselves into this corner, and the enemies, which will be a bunch of crawlers. There is, as Socrates said, a fuck ton of them in this room. But make sure to stay in this corner and don't get greedy. I get a little bit greedy. I got a little bit... what's the word? Whatever. I got a little bit greedy. So I take a few hits. There is no reason for you to take hits in this room. The best way to approach these crawlers is to use the grip glove and drag them towards you and just drop them on the floor in front of you. If you throw them away with the grip glove, I feel that since they are four-legged, I don't think they take very much damage because they can like cushion the blow when they get thrown in stuff. I say as I throw one head first into the wall and crush him. But I would say a better strategy is to just pull them towards you and then whack them with the stun baton. And make good use of the stun baton, because this is actually the final time you will be using it in this DLC. This is the final combat sequence where that will be a factor, and then we'll get a new weapon called the kinetic hammer. But as you can see, me being a bit overzealous, I've taken quite a lot of hits, and that is stupid. There is no reason to do that. Just be careful, let them come to you. And the reason you want to stand, as I said, why you want to stand in this corner is because they can only attack you from the left or the right. Because the AI in this game isn't so smart. The first time I attempted this room, I stayed by the entrance. And I felt like I was getting attacked from fucking everywhere. I think there's even like a vent somewhere around there. So they were coming in from my back and from the sides and from the front. And to put it plainly, it got ugly. But going back, talking to the DualSense, about the DualSense Edge, as I said, I really want one of those controllers. I will buy one day when they come down to a decent price, because paying almost $300 due to our high taxes is way too much for a controller. And the biggest difference is you have, I think it's like 2 or 4 back buttons. I think the most important thing is to have 2 back buttons. That's what the Razer Raiju controller had. And what I did with that one was I programmed R3 and L3, you know, the analog sticks. They're button functions to those back buttons. And for any casual player, that doesn't make... It may seem like it doesn't make a big difference, but for me it did. Because I've never liked the fact that that the analog sticks are buttons as well. I feel I've never been a fan of that. I think back buttons with those functions should be standard by this point. But if they were to make that standard, they couldn't charge you up the ass for buying a Pro controller. So I understand their motivation for not doing that as a standard function as well. But hopefully for the PlayStation 6, PlayStation 7, Xbox Series, whatever they will call it, I think that is one of those things where PlayStation really has one up on Xbox. I like both consoles. I'm more partial to the PlayStation because that has always been... Not always, because I'm old enough to... having grown up with the NES and the SNES and games like that. But in the PlayStation, Xbox era, PlayStation has always been my main, but I like to play on Xbox as well. But maybe, I think that the point I was getting to is I think that PlayStation are better at naming their consoles than Xbox are. Because I like the consistency of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Great. And then we have the PlayStation Portable, great name. PlayStation Vita, not so great. And PlayStation Vita, I must say, is a better console than it got credit for. I have one and I've had so much fun with it. And important note, when we get into the room where you will lose your stun baton, which is very soon, in there is also data drive 6, if I recall correctly. So make sure to pick that up if you're going for the collectible trophy.
What the hell were you trying to do here?
But Xbox, I think, have been a lot less consistent, because there's Xbox, Xbox 360, Xbox One, and now Xbox Series X. And Xbox Series X is one of the dumbest names for a console ever. It doesn't quite roll off the tongue now, does it? But I've been aching to buy one. I think I will at some point. Or the Xbox Series S. Not quite sure, but that is the end of episode 3. Make sure to pick up the data drive before you leave that room, and I will see you again in my next video. So until next time, this is the Wolfman signing off.